I'm Joshua Bardwell, here for Armattan Quads. When you buy a ready-to-fly quadcopter from Armattan, they do almost all the work of getting it ready for you to fly, as the name suggests. But there are a few things you got to take care of when you first get the quad to personalize the quadcopter, to let it get to know your transmitter. And that's what we're going over in this video. In this video, we're going to cover setting up fail-safe and setting up your arming mode. It is absolutely essential that before you fly your quadcopter, you set fail-safe, however you do it for your particular system. I'm going to show you some of the most common ones. Fail-safe is how the receiver knows what to do if and when it loses radio link to the transmitter. If you don't set fail-safe, then you're going to be the guy whose quadcopter flies away to the moon and is never seen again. Or even worse, if your quadcopter crashes, lands somewhere, and the motors will keep spinning, could injure somebody, could damage property, you must set fail-safe before you fly your quadcopter. This is absolutely mandatory. On a FreeSky radio, any radio running OpenTX really, that's a X9D like this, a QX7 or Horus X10, X12. The way to do it is we'll press Menu and then Page to go to the model setup, and then we'll scroll down to the receiver section. And here, this is where the internal module right here, and we can see that the fail-safe mode needs to be set to no pulses. That's what you want. No pulses means that when the fail-safe happens, the receiver will essentially shut down, at which point the flight controller will detect something's gone wrong, and the flight controller will handle the fail-safe behavior. If you don't see no pulses as an option, it may be because you are in the wrong mode. You need to be in D16 mode with basically all modern FreeSky receivers, all the ones that are going to come on an Armattan quad anyway. D16 mode is what you want to see, and you want to be here, no pulses. Here's how you verify that failsafe is working correctly, and I'm going to do this with my Tyrannus, which is my primary radio, but this is the same with any radio that you've got. Take your props off. Seriously, take your props off. I'm not joking. Take your props off. If this goes wrong, it'll be a disaster if your props are on. So take your props off. Plug in. And your receiver should show green. You can see a little green LED right here indicating that I'm bound. If you're not bound, you'll need to bind first. That's a different video. Then arm the quad. And now with the motor spinning, turn the transmitter off. And you can see my my Tyrannus is warning me. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Turn the transmitter off. That's what should happen. We'll go ahead and unplug here. The motor should shut down, and if you've got a buzzer on your quad, it may start beeping, but the motor should shut down. If you turn your transmitter off and the motors do not shut down, do not fly your quad under any circumstances until you can verify that failsafe is working correctly. The next thing I want to show you is how to set up an arming switch. Arming switch lets you arm and disarm your quadcopter. By default in Betaflight, if you don't have an arming mode set up, you'll arm by using the stick. Now this is a holdover from a long time ago. We don't need to do that anymore. All of our transmitters, even cheap ones, have tons of switches. Let's use them. And the way you're going to do that, if you have a Spectrum radio, the arming switch is already set up by default, you lucky Spectrum users. If you have an OpenTX radio like me, here's how to set it up. You're going to go to the, there it was. You're going to go to the mixer page. You're going to go down to one of your channels, like let's choose channel 5, which is not used. Here are my 4 main control channels. We're going to use channel 5 to arm the quad. You're going to hold down the Enter key, and that's going to create a new mix. You're then going to go to Source, and you're going to press Enter so that Source is flashing, at which point you are going to flip the switch that you intend to use to arm and disarm the quad. Now let's talk about that for a second. Personally, I like this shoulder switch here. This on the Tyrannus is a 2-position switch, and it's very handy to be able to arm and disarm. See, when you're flying, your finger rests very easily right there. And what I like to do is have this be the disarm position because it's very easy to pull. If I'm armed and I want to disarm, it's very easy to just go like that. Whereas if I had it the other way, if this was the arm position and this was disarm, and that's actually more traditional, is to have the neutral position be pushed away from you. But I don't like that, because if I'm flying and I needed to disarm, I would have to go and that takes longer. I prefer to disarm just like that. I feel like that's faster. However you like it. Some people like these switches here on the front. They like to use this switch as the arming switch because it's a little easier to get at with your finger. Whatever's comfortable to you, whatever you're not going to hit by accident, and whatever you can get at easily, you're going to decide that that's your arming switch. You're going to press enter to cause the source to be flashing, and then you're going to flip that switch one time. And that is going to input that switch as the source for this mixer line. And now if I hit exit to get back out, we can see that channel 5, and up here, let me zoom in real quick. We can see here that channel 5 has switch SF, that's what that switch is, set as its source. And if we look at the channel value, which shows up here, as I flip the switch, the channel goes from high to low. The only thing we have to do then is set that up in Betaflight. So here I am back at the computer. I've plugged USB into the flight controller. I've got my props off, and I'm going to plug a battery. And depending on the flight controller, you might need to plug a battery in. You can see that this flight controller is powering the receiver. The little green light is on. Can you see that? There you go. There you go. The little green light is on. So I do not need to plug a battery in for this test. Some flight controllers will not power the receiver unless you plug a battery in which case definitely make sure your props are off. Then I'm going to go into the Betaflight configurator and hit connect. And I'm going to go, I just want to show you in the receiver tab over here, this is showing me my current channel values. And if we look at aux1, what you can see as I flip the switch is aux1 goes from low to high. That's going to be my arming mode. The way I set that up is I go to the modes tab, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select aux1, which is the channel that was going up and down when I flipped the arm switch. And when I select aux1 here, notice that it's this little yellow indicator is showing me the current position of the channel. So again, if I flip that arming switch, watch, it's going to go low, it's going to go high. Then I'm going to drag this range here, this little yellow range. You see, I can choose the size and I can choose the position of the range. And what I want to do is I want to put the switch into the position that I want the quadcopter to arm. So right now the switch is pulled towards me. I'm going to push it away from me, and I'm going to drag this over so that it covers. See where the channel is? I'm just going to drag it over so it covers that area, and I'm going to hit save. So now when I flip the switch to the disarm position, the channel goes over here and it is not in the yellow area. And notice that arm is gray. That means I am not armed. And when I flip the switch, now it goes into that yellow area and it says arm, and that's what we want to see. Now, for those of you using Spectrum radios like this DX6E, you do not need to do anything in like a mixer like we did in the Tyrannus. This shoulder switch right here, it's a great switch to use for arming, and it is already mapped to aux1, which is straight out of the box when you create the model. So you still need to go into Betaflight Spectrum users and set up the arming mode, but you don't need to do anything special in your Spectrum, in your DX, whatever, to set the mix up and make the switch work. If you wanted to assign it to a different switch, that would be a topic for another video. By the way, Spectrum users, you also don't need to do anything special to set the failsafe on the satellite. The default behavior is correct and you're good to go. Hey, Spectrum got a few things right. That is going to bring us to the end of this video. Now you have set up your failsafe and you have set up your arming mode. You can make the quadcopter start spinning its motors, and it will also correctly stop spinning its motors if anything goes wrong. You're just about ready to go fly at this point. Oh, make sure you did go back and watch part 1 where you set up your channel mapping and your endpoints. That's also pretty important. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Joshua Bardwell for Armattan Quads.